Haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. From budget to the best. From desks to filing cabinets. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to want to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 Mac Oil Avenue in Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we welcome you in live here on a Thursday, the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. 937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. How about I say it slower so you could actually follow it? 937-518-1410. Text or call. Again, that's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio. A lot to get into here today. We'll open up with just a couple quick headlines. We'll dive in more on the college basketball side coming up here just around the corner. But it was not, it was not a pretty night last night if you're a college basketball fan of any of the teams that we have here in the Miami Valley. Wright State, they were heavy favorites last night. They had won 7 straight. They were sitting atop the Horizon League. Everything was going swell until it wasn't. They get dropped at the hands of Cleveland State last night, 85-79. Wright State was able to, they were down by 9 at one point. They came back, had about a 4 or 5 point lead, but Cleveland State just couldn't miss from 3. And ultimately, that's what hit the Raiders when it was all said and done. And Cleveland State ends up coming out on top, 85-79. Wright State still in first place, though. All right. Oakland, who was sitting right behind them in the conference, they lost last night as well. So that keeps the Raiders in first place and sets up a huge one against Northern Kentucky at the Nutter Center. What was supposed to be Saturday night, it's now a 1 p.m. tip-off due to the storm of the century that is coming this weekend. Wright State, Northern Kentucky. Again, the Raiders 12-7, 6-2 in Horizon League play on the season. So a big one on Saturday for your first place Raiders. It got uglier even last night for UD. UD trailed by double digits on the road at halftime against LaSalle. In fact, at one point, it was 32-10. I mean, Dayton laid a stinker last night. And the problem is this is what Dayton does in the Anthony Grant era. They could beat the Florida States. They could beat the Georgetowns. They could beat the Marquettes. They can compete with the North Carolinas. They could beat the number 1 team in the country or number 2 team in the country in UConn a year ago. But they always lose to the LaSalles of the world. They always lose to they stub their toe against bad teams at the bottom of the A10. All while trying to convince you that the Big East is where they should be. It doesn't make any sense. At some point, UD basketball has to be about what you do in college and not who you're putting in the pros. That was a bad loss last night. Dayton had played their way back into the at-large conversation, or at least positioned themselves to consider that. They had won 5 straight. They were 5-0 in A10 play, right there at the top with George Mason. St. Louis, who's in the top 25. They have St. Louis 2 more times. They have George Mason. They have VCU. They have some good quality opponents coming up. But all that got thrown out the window last night with that tough loss. We'll dive more into that coming up here later on in the show. Not a good night for Dayton or Wright State. No doubt about it. To the NFL, the Cleveland Browns. We talked about it yesterday. Mike McDaniel, he has withdrawn his name from consideration for the Browns head coaching vacancy, and he is going to go be the offensive coordinator for Justin Herbert and the Chargers on Harbaugh's staff. It's a very interesting move, a smart one. It's crazy with all these jobs open. The Ravens job, the Steelers job, the Browns job, the Raiders job, who have the number 1 pick. Mike McDaniel still said none of these jobs are very good right now. The Bills job, he'd rather go be a coordinator than a head coach of Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or, Dylan Gabriel. Come on, I can't believe he turned down the chance to be the head coach for Dylan Gabriel. What are we doing? But it's not just Mike McDaniel that withdrew his name from consideration. Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator for the Chargers, was in consideration for the Browns head coaching job. In fact, he was supposed to have an interview today. He ultimately did not show up for the interview and opted to not pursue the Browns head coaching job. Browns are in trouble. It could end up that they end up with Jim Schwartz as their head coach, which honestly wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But it's not going to feel like the best thing in the world because no matter who the Browns ultimately pick, it's going to feel like we have no choice. We have to settle for you. And we'll see what ultimately happens. But that's not a good thing as far as that goes. We'll keep an eye on the Browns' ongoing coaching search. Speaking of a coaching search, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I think are just in a bad spot as Cleveland, they just have the sexier brand and obviously a way better resume. Their coaching search isn't going so well either. They just finished up an interview with a guy I like. I like Mike McCarthy. He has won absolutely everywhere he has gone. His resume is almost identical to a man that everyone says is irreplaceable in Mike Tomlin. He has almost the same winning percentage. He has more playoff wins than Mike Tomlin. He has the same amount of Super Bowl wins as Mike Tomlin. Mike McCarthy interviewed for the Steelers job earlier today. He did not leave with the head coaching title, but many believe he is the favorite to land that position. That'll be interesting as far as how all that unfolds. The Kansas City Chiefs, they bring back Eric Bieniemy to run their offense. The Chiefs agreed to a multi-year contract with Eric Bieniemy to be their new offensive coordinator, the same role that he had with the team from 2018 to 2022. A league source tells ESPN. The deal comes 2 days after the Chiefs requested permission from the Bears to interview Bieniemy. He, of course, was the Chicago Bears running backs coach this past season. Now, Matt Nagy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator the past 3 seasons, was not expected to return in 26. His contract expired after the Chiefs finished 6-11 this season, ultimately missing the playoffs. And of course, that's the reality that Chiefs fans are facing after 3 straight years of making it to the Super Bowl. You go from the Super Bowl to missing the playoffs. That's kind of a steep drop-off. Nonetheless, I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show if you're just joining us. Just a couple headlines to open up. We'll get back into the college basketball side. A couple of tough losses last night for Dayton and Wright State, and we'll talk more college hoops coming up around the corner. Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports, he'll hang out with us coming up here later on in the hour. We'll get to him here shortly. We'll talk about the Bengals' chances in the AFC next year. I mean, the AFC is looking a little dicey. The AFC is looking a little interesting right now. The Bills are not very good. The Ravens are not very good. The Steelers are not very good. The Browns are the Browns. The Chiefs have taken a step back. We'll see if Eric Bieniemy as OC wakes that offense up. The Bengals have a legit opportunity. We're going to talk about that with Jason Fitz coming up here in just a little bit. Something we didn't get into yesterday that I want to get into here today, CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud's struggles in the NFL right now. Is that a bad look for the Buckeyes? Is it a bad look? CJ Stroud struggling in the NFL. Does that make the Buckeyes look bad? Should they be concerned about that? Is another question to consider as well. 937-518-1410 Buckeye fans. Should Ohio State care about how their quarterbacks perform in the NFL? Is it Ryan Day's responsibility to make sure that these guys are elite NFL prospects? Or is his job to win national championships and win games, something that he's done a lot of at Ohio State? 937-518-1410. CJ Stroud, does he make the Buckeyes look bad? We'll discuss when we come back.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Have you heard? Bath Creations has moved to their new location and showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton. This gives you even more opportunity to see the incredible amenities and craftsmanship Bath Creation offers. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful, modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or online at mybathcreations.com and get a new bath today.
Let's go!
You still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
And now, Public Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Jeff Wensing.
Ohio's public school educators have dedicated their lives to serving their students, and we must trust them as experienced professionals to do the jobs they've been trained to do. Creating the best schools and communities takes every single one of us. Please make sure the educators in your life know how much they are appreciated and respected.
Public Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Coming this winter, a deal so epic, so huge, so famous, you'll have to taste it to believe it. The Homestyle Bowl Combo. Affordability strikes back. Starring famous chicken, melty cheese, sweet corn, mashed potatoes, and rich gravy. The Homestyle Bowl Combo with a regular drink. Now playing for just $4.99 at a Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken near you. Famous for a reason.
Give your home a beautiful makeover with help from Menards. Update any room with flooring from Tarkett. From easy-to-install sheet vinyl and vinyl plank to durable laminate flooring, Tarkett has the perfect flooring option for you. Vericore vinyl plank is waterproof and perfect for any room in your house. Pick it up for just $3.29 per square foot, now through January 24th. Plus, get 15% off everything you can fit in the bag. See store for complete details.
Save big money at Menards.
KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris is now hiring and has increased the hourly wage of $22.48. That's right. KTH is looking for elite production associates, including press operators, overhead crane operators, and forklift operators. Apply today. KTH offers excellent benefits, including medical, dental, and 401k. KTH is a short drive from Bellefonte, Troy, Piqua, and Urbana. Upgrade your career and be valued by a company that really cares about you. Apply now at kth.net. An equal opportunity employer. Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle is more than a tax preparer. We're your friend. Stop and see Michael Maxwell and Joe Tannis at their new office at 100 South Church Street in New Carlisle. Whether you have personal or business taxes, Michael and Joe are here to take care of all the details for you, down to the last penny. Allow our experience to ease the burden of doing it yourself. Make an appointment at 937-543-5770 or online at arrowheadtaxservice.com, where our target is your satisfaction.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Nine 937-518-1410. That's the number to call or jump in on the conversation. Jason Fitz from Yahoo Sports. He's going to hang out with us coming up here in about 15, 20 minutes. CJ Stroud. Meant to touch on this earlier in the week, but it's already Thursday. Week's getting away from me. Look, we all know the narrative about Ohio State quarterbacks. They just, who's the best Buckeye quarterback in the NFL? I mean, Stroud looked the part right off the bat. That bar was so low, it didn't take much for CJ Stroud to look like the best Buckeye quarterback ever. But, I mean, my goodness. His very first season, I mean, it was arguably the best rookie season played at the quarterback position ever. And then, of course, you look at McDaniels with the Commanders and what he did the very following season. So, we've seen such amazing play from rookie QBs in the league. But CJ Stroud right off the bat takes a last-place Texans team, leads into a division title, leads into the playoffs. They get a win over the Browns in the playoffs. And, in fact, CJ Stroud and the Texans, they've made the playoffs every year since drafting him. Not only have they made the playoffs every year since drafting CJ Stroud, but they have won a playoff game every year since drafting CJ Stroud. The problem is CJ Stroud, there seems to be like a ceiling. There doesn't seem to be any progression. He doesn't seem to be getting any better. I thought, man, if that's what a rookie quarterback looks like, how good is he going to look in year 2? How good is he going to look in year 3? Somehow, some way, he looks worse. 4 interceptions in the first half in their loss this past weekend against the Patriots. 4 interceptions. I mean, he was a walking turnover. In fact, every time he dropped back to pass, I mean, I'm not joking. Every possession, one of his passes was in the hands of a defender. A lot of interceptions were dropped. I mean, it was just not a good look for CJ Stroud. And it's not as if, people said, oh my gosh, he has one bad game and you're jumping ship. Guys, this isn't one bad game. I mean, he has regressed mightily from his rookie season. And the 4 interceptions that he threw in the first half, in the divisional round of the playoffs is coming a week after fumbling the ball 3 times and turning it over multiple times in the wild card round of the playoffs. Now, I know they won, but we all saw it. In fact, I'm pretty sure the majority of us saw that game and saw how bad C.J. Stroud looked. I don't know if you guys saw this, but that Texans-Patriots matchup on ESPN, it was ESPN's most watched event ever. Not football game, not show, event. 38 million viewers, 38 million people tuned in to watch C.J. Stroud stink up the joint. It surpassed every game across all sports, including NFL regular season and playoff games since 1979. Outside of the Super Bowl, it was the second most watched football game ever on the network. Pretty impressive. Pretty bad, though, for C.J. Stroud that over 38 million people saw him embarrass himself. And, so much is made about the narrative of, man, if you're a quarterback at Ohio State, like if no matter how good a quarterback looks at Ohio State and you're next up in the draft, don't draft a Buckeye quarterback. And it's hard to argue with that logic. They're like, they may be wide receiver you for a while. Ohio State was running back you. I mean, they always produce great running backs. They always produce great wide receivers. All right, like Ohio State, they put a ton of guys in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. But the one position that they just can't seem to produce elite-level pros at is the quarterback position. And I guess the question I have is, because I hear so many people make something of this, does that matter? C.J. Stroud was a Heisman contender every year that he was a Buckeye. As a Buckeye fan, I expect C.J. Stroud to be as great as he possibly can for the Buckeyes, and he was. Sure, he lost to Michigan every year. He had great numbers against Michigan. The defense, horrible. Right? Like, I'm not saying he doesn't get that he gets a pass, but it's not as if, like, C.J. Stroud was phenomenal in college. Justin Fields was phenomenal in college. Justin Fields was a Heisman contender. C.J. Stroud, a Heisman contender. Kyle McCord, I mean, like, you look at these guys, like, they all put up great numbers at Ohio State. You look at Will Howard, who got drafted by the Steelers. He was a phenomenal Buckeye quarterback. He led them to a national championship. He was throwing for 300-plus yards, 2-3 touchdowns a game in the dominant playoff run that Ohio State had. He was phenomenal. We don't know how good he's going to be as a pro, but I don't think the expectation is for him to be a great NFL quarterback. But I don't think anyone expects a Buckeye quarterback to be great in the NFL. And I guess the question I have is, do you care? Buckeye fans, do you care that these guys don't seem to be able to cut it once they leave Ohio State and get in the pros? Because I see, oh, yeah, well, these quarterbacks at Ohio State, they're overrated. They never cut it as a pro. And I'm like, I mean, I'm not saying I don't care about that. I would have loved to see Justin Fields kill it in the NFL. I would love to see C.J. Stroud continue on the trajectory that we thought he was heading towards after that phenomenal rookie season. But to C.J. Stroud being bad in the NFL or regressing in the NFL, does that change who he was at Ohio State? I don't think it does. Justin Fields, I mean, you think when Urban Meyer left and Ryan Day took over, it was the Ryan Day era. It was up to him. I mean, Tate Martell, that was going to be the quarterback. If Ryan Day would not have been able to get Justin Fields to transfer to Ohio State from Georgia, Tate Martell would have been the quarterback that year one of Ryan Day, and it would have been ugly. Ohio State got to the playoff year one of Ryan Day. They lost in an instant classic against Clemson that year. Justin Fields was phenomenal. But now, because we just remember how bad he was in the NFL, we think about how bad he is with the Jets. He had multiple games this year where he threw for under 100 yards. And he's paid a lot of money. He got paid a massive contract from the Jets. Good for him. He's rich. And C.J. Stroud is entering year 4. They're probably going to pick up that 5th-year option on him. They're going to franchise tag him. I don't think he's going to get a big payday anytime soon because for 2 straight years now, he has had his season come to an end in embarrassing fashion. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show. Buckeye fans, help me out. 937-518-1410. We're live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page and the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. Do you care? Does it bother you that you watch Justin Fields have a great career at Ohio State and can't cut it in the NFL? Does it bother you that CJ Stroud is a phenomenal quarterback or was a phenomenal quarterback for the Buckeyes, but he doesn't seem to be able to get it in the NFL? Does that bother you? Does that change your perception of him? And is that a problem for Ohio State? Does this make Ohio State look bad? I guess is the question I have, because I've heard this debate for a while now, and am I wrong for saying I don't think it's Ryan Day's job to make sure that he is good in the NFL? Isn't it Ryan Day's job to win national championships, which he has done? Now, I did say plural. He needs to win another one for it to be championships. But isn't it Ryan Day's job to win a national championship? Isn't it Ryan Day's job to win as many games as possible to make the playoffs? Ryan Day does nothing but put guys in the pros. Ryan Day does nothing but win. Ryan Day does nothing but provide an offense that allows wide receivers to flourish and quarterbacks to compete for championships and Heisman trophies. Year one of Julian saying he's competing for a Heisman trophy. You know what I mean? Like that's Ryan Day. So these people that say, yeah, Ryan Day can't, he can't produce an NFL quarterback. Well, either could Urban Meyer. Either could Jim Tressel. And I don't any chance that I get to rub elbows with Jim Tressel. I've never once said, man, I got to interview Jim Tressel, but can you believe that bum couldn't produce an NFL quarterback? Never said that. Urban Meyer's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. And it's ironic because Urban Meyer's best quarterback ever, Tim Tebow, also couldn't cut it in the NFL. Now, he won a playoff game, at least, against the Pittsburgh Steelers, ironically enough. I don't think that matters. For the longest time of the Alabama dynasty, they never were led by great quarterbacks. That wasn't until that 14 playoff era when a lot of teams started kind of embracing the pro-style game a little bit, right? The spread offense, they went away from the power run games and started spreading it out, and that's when you started seeing your Mac Jones and your Tuas and your Jalen Hurts and guys like that, right? That's really when things started opening up for Alabama. That's when things started opening up for Ohio State. The bottom line is it's not Nick Saban's job. Nick Saban, it's not like he was killing it in the quarterback department either. I don't think that matters. I think people that are using the CJ Stroud struggles to poke at Ryan Day, I just think it's because you don't like Ryan Day and you're just looking for a reason to hate on him. All right. Now I'm going to open up the phone lines. I'm going to step away for a few moments to allow you guys to call in so I can get your spot in line. I'm in here solo today. I apologize. I see calls coming in. I can't get to them when I'm talking. Okay, so I'm going to step away for a few minutes. Call in. I'll get you in line, and then we'll take your calls when we come back. CJ Stroud struggles in the NFL. Is that a bad look for Ohio State? Is it a bad look that Ohio State can't produce Pro Bowl caliber, MVP caliber NFL quarterbacks? Does that matter to you? It does not to me. It does not matter to me that Ohio State can't produce NFL quality quarterbacks. They're Heisman contenders every year. They're national championship contenders every year. All they do is win big games every year. As a Buckeye fan, that's all I care about. Would it be nice to see that translate to the NFL? No doubt. I just don't think that's a reason to diminish Ryan Day or the Buckeyes. 937-518-1410. I'll read your text and I'll take your calls when we come back. You could also let your opinion be known in the chat on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page and YouTube channel. We'll be right back.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Do you or someone you know need a driver's license? Sign up now to get your testing completed at our Moraine Auto Title location. Hi, I'm Shannon Crabtree from the Montgomery County Clerk of Court's office. Clerk Foley is proud to team up with the Ohio BMV to be a designated testing location, perfect for new drivers in southern Montgomery County. Schedule your driving skills test now on the Ohio BMV website. Choose a location at 5552 North Springboro Pike. Testing fees apply. We even have weekend hours to accommodate your busy schedule. Just another convenient service of your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts, Mike Foley.
At Straight Talk, we get it. You say no a lot.
Mom, can I get a tarantula?
No.
Coffee?
No. So we're giving you more reasons to say yes, like a free 5G phone with real unlimited data with select plan activation.
Can I use the free phone?
Yes. See? Doesn't it feel good to say yes to more?
Absolutely. Face tattoo? Absolutely not.
Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Taxes and fees apply. In-store activation of Gold Unlimited plan or higher required. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can choose the best coverage option for you. Because you know you. Like, you know that hiking isn't for you. Sure, it sounds nice to be in nature while exercising, but that's what a gym and houseplants are for. I mean, you don't even like walking upstairs. So why would you walk up a hill for miles? To what, end up high in the air? Come on, you know you're scared of heights. Only you know you. So get coverage options within your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/deal for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/deal. See representative for warranty details.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like, but you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places. What you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. From budget to the best. From desks to filing cabinets. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to want to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 Mac Oil Avenue in Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Looking to launch a career in the skilled trades but don't know where to begin? Part-time service in the Ohio Army National Guard can help. You can kickstart your career by enlisting in one of our many trades-based jobs: mechanic, driver, electrician, plumber, just to name a few. You'll be paid to learn these skills and get on-the-job training when you report to your unit 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summer. The Guard can also pay for your civilian trade certification in the career field of your choice. The Ohio National Guard Scholarship Program covers the cost of getting a CDL or becoming an EMT, as well as licensing programs in food services, healthcare, information technology, cosmetology, automotive services, and much more. Don't delay. A career in the skilled trades awaits you. Learn more about job and educational opportunities in the trade industries at nationalguard.com/OH. Sponsored by the Ohio Army National Guard, in coordination with the Ohio Association of Broadcasters and this station.
You can make the decision right now to get lasting relief from that awful joint pain. Don't go another year compromising because of that pain in your knees or shoulder. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative non-surgical pain relief. Your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue. And QC Kinetics can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. The future of pain treatment has arrived, and QC has tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People with back pain, hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. This is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again. Get your life back. And listen, it's non-surgical. If this is the year you decide to fight back against that pain, take the first step now. Call QC Kinetics. Get a free consultation on your calendar today. Call 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. CJ Stroud, again, one of the best Buckeye quarterbacks of all time statistically. I mean, my goodness, what a career he had at Ohio State. Just like Justin Fields, Will Howard in his 1 year, phenomenal. Julian Sainz off to a hell of a start. I can't wait to see what he does in year 2. To sit there and say that Ohio State's never had great quarterbacks is just ridiculous. I mean, Ohio State won a national championship with their third-string quarterback in Cardale Jones back in 2014. To sit here and say that Ohio State has never had talented quarterbacks, that's just kind of stupid. Unless your, justification for it is based on what they do in the pros, I just find that to be odd. Was Tim Tebow a horrible quarterback because he was not a good NFL quarterback? Tim Tebow is one of the best college football quarterbacks of all time. But because he wasn't good in the pros, you're saying he wasn't good in college? That doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to discredit the CJ Strouds and the Justin Fields and the Will Howards and, Julian Sainz and others. Now, on the flip side, it will be interesting. Let's say Julian Sainz has a monster season next year and wins the Heisman. Do you think, and I think there's a good chance that would, people might second guess it. Let's say Julian Sainz has a monster year 2 for Ohio State, year 3 in college, but year 2 overall. And let's say he outperforms Arch Manning. Let's say that he outperforms all the QBs that are available to come out for the draft next year. Do you think he's a top draft pick next year? Do you think that he's a top 10 draft pick next year? If Julian Sainz builds on what he did this year, puts up massive numbers in Ohio State, they're going to have massive Heisman opportunities when you're playing USC, when you're playing Oregon, when you're playing at Indiana. Of course, you have Michigan, and they're at Texas. I feel like no matter what Julian Sainz does next year, there are going to be teams who, no matter what the tape says, no matter what the combine numbers do or say, they're going to say, yeah, but he's a Buckeye. And Buckeye quarterbacks just can't cut it in the NFL. If that ends up being the case, they would be completely justified in thinking that way. That should not diminish how you view them as what they've done in college and water it down because, they couldn't make it in the pros or what have you. But that Julian Sainz conversation is a conversation for later. But this CJ Stroud discussion coming out of the weekend, it's wild because everyone is just trying to say, well, yeah, would you expect he's a Buckeye quarterback? I have never seen a rookie season better than CJ Stroud's. Well, I guess, like I said earlier, McDaniels from Washington. I mean, that was a pretty damn good one. But yeah, I'm like, I just don't get it. I've never to watch him just regress and not get better doesn't make any sense. Javi on Facebook says Ohio State has never produced NFL quarterbacks, no matter who the coach was. Yes, because there's some other insults being thrown on social media that this is Ryan Day's fault. I'm like, hold on, what? Ryan Day will never be the most. I think honestly, there's a good chance Ryan Day wins another national title, maybe 2 more. I thought this is going to be the year he did it. There's a very good possibility Ryan Day wins another national championship at Ohio State, which means he would have won more national championships than Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel. And Ryan Day still would be bottom, he would not be top 3 most popular head coach of all time. I don't think Ryan Day is ever, no matter what he does moving forward, I do not think Ryan Day will ever be the most popular or one of the most popular head coaches at Ohio State. And all he does is win. He's won a national title, and I think he could win another one, maybe 2, depending on how long he stays. I think this year he squandered a very good opportunity, of course. And what I mean by that is people just want to find reasons to insult Ryan Day. He's a little quirky. He has a dry personality. I completely get it. But if you're going to sit here and hold CJ Stroud and Justin Fields and Will Howard and Kyle McCord, if you're going to hold guys like that against Ryan Day because they haven't flourished in the NFL, why is the same mindset not held for Jim Tressel or Urban Meyer? Jim Tressel is a walking legend. Urban Meyer is a walking Buckeye legend. And they haven't produced good NFL quarterbacks either. So why is Ryan Day the coach that we're going to look at and say, this is on you? You're why CJ Stroud can't cut it in the NFL. Give me a break. At some point, I think it has to be on CJ Stroud. At some point, it has to be on Justin Fields. At some point, it has to be on them. Because Ryan Day did his job when Justin Fields played for Ryan Day, Ohio State. Phenomenal. CJ Stroud at Ohio State, he was phenomenal. One of the most explosive offenses in the country, Heisman contender. All he did was throw touchdowns. All he did was win a lot of games. I mean, what are we doing? I do not view their struggles in the NFL as a way to discredit what they did in college. Tim Tebow is arguably the best quarterback in the history of college football and was a horrible pro. He was a draw. He was polarizing. But I'm not going to sit there and let what he did or did not do in the NFL diminish who he was at Florida as a quarterback. And I'm not going to do it with these guys either. Continuing on down the list, Ron Howard says that the problem starts in college. OSU is always putting a loaded team around that position. They never really have to prove themselves. Ohio State produces game managers. Absolutely. But, right, like, and by the way, not a bad point. I get that. I've heard that take before that, you know, when you're at Ohio State, you have an embarrassment of riches. It's easier to flourish there. And in the NFL, you're going to have a lot more deficiencies that you have to play through. Completely get that. But at the same time, no one complains about Nick Saban and others when Tua had a ton of weapons. Mac Jones had a ton of weapons. Jalen Hurts had a ton of weapons. It just seems like Ohio State is kind of held to a different standard of everyone else. David Shaw says Ohio State produced great college quarterbacks. Their job isn't to produce great NFL QBs. And that's the question I had. And I that's the answer I'm not saying I was looking for that exact answer, but I am curious people's thoughts on that. So Shaw says their job is not to produce great NFL quarterbacks. I don't agree with Shaw hardly at all, but we are on the same side as far as that goes. If you are great in college and you win in college and you're a Heisman contending quarterback in college, that's what Ryan Day recruited you to do. That's what Ryan Day signed you out of the portal, if that's the case nowadays, to do. Julian's saying next season, his job is to go be the best college quarterback, the best Buckeye quarterback that he could possibly be with all the weapons that he's going to have at his disposal. And if it translates to the NFL, great. That is not Ryan Day's job. And if it's strictly about getting to the NFL, then don't go to Ohio State. Fine. I don't know what you want me to say to that, but I have a hard time believing that this is a bad look for Ohio State. Chad Kinser on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel, he says maybe the issues with Ohio State QBs in the NFL is just what we always have, elite wide receivers, and they just help to elevate, make the quarterbacks look good, similar to Ron's take a little bit ago. That's one reason why some people were a little skeptical of Joe Burrow early. And you could argue some are still, me especially, skeptical of him today. I know Joe Burrow's a great quarterback, but, you know, we've had to see CJ Stroud had great weapons. I mean, to be fair, Stroud has weapons in Houston. The offensive line is absolutely beat up. Run game's beat up. Wide receivers beat up. Who are they when they don't have elite weapons around them? We learned that, I guess, when they get to the NFL. Joe Burrow's the only quarterback, and I don't count him as a Buckeye quarterback, by the way. He wasn't good enough to win the job. But my God, was he good at LSU. But when you have Justin Jefferson and when you have Jamar Chase, the two best wide receivers in football today, and you had them on your team to throw the ball to, and now you go to the NFL and you have Jamar Chase and you have T. Higgins, I don't know who Joe Burrow is without elite weapons around him. I don't know who Joe Burrow is without elite wide receivers to throw to. We know who Justin Fields is without elite receivers to throw to. We know, who CJ Stroud is without elite wide receivers to throw to. Julian Sainz, phenomenal. We're going to learn a lot about him if he ever has to throw a football without elite wide receivers to throw to. And that's the thing. More times than not, when you are drafted in the NFL, you're not going to the best situation. So, yeah, I mean, I think all of those takes are fair as far as that's concerned. We're going to talk more about this with Jason Fitz coming up around the corner, 937-518-1410. But, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Let me check the text line and see what people are saying in there. Your thoughts on this. This is Ben in Huber Heights. What up, Ben? Ben in Huber Heights says, don't forget about the man from Miami of Ohio, Big Ben, 16-1 rookie year. Only lost AFC championship game. That was probably the best rookie year for a quarterback. He did have a great defense and run game. Ben, yes, that was a loaded team. That was a great rookie year for Big Ben, but not statistically. Big Ben didn't wow people statistically. CJ Stroud wowed people statistically. I do think that that's a difference. I think what Ben and Huber Heights, and by the way, when you text into the show, your number just pops up in your text. I don't know who you are. I appreciate Ben and the others who, when you text, just let me know your name and where you're texting from so I can give you a shout out, by the way. I only disagree with that just because statistically, CJ Stroud, they won because of CJ Stroud. I think the Steelers were winning with the rookie quarterback because you had Jerome Bettis and that big, beefy offensive line. And of course, the stereotypical elite defense of the Steelers. I think you could win a lot of games with rookie quarterbacks when you have all those things buttoned up. I mean, Dak Prescott won that way in Dallas as his rookie year. Dak Prescott was another really impressive rookie that won a lot of games because they had Ezekiel Elliott and an elite offensive line and an elite defense that allowed the Cowboys to win with Dak. Big Ben, huge run game, huge offensive line, great defense. They were able to win with Big Ben. Houston, on the other hand, won because of CJ Stroud. And that's why I think CJ Stroud had the best rookie quarterback campaign of all time. And to be honest, that's not true. The second best rookie quarterback campaign of all time, because as far as I'm concerned, when you look at, what Daniels does, Jaden Daniels did with Washington, I think I think he surpassed CJ Stroud the very next season with what he did. And he led Washington all the way to the NFC Championship game that season. But I know what you're saying. I think, Big Ben's rookie season has to be up there with one of the best of all time, but I still wouldn't put Big Ben's rookie year ahead of Jaden Daniels or CJ Stroud. I would go Jaden Daniels number 1. I would go CJ Stroud 2. And I'm not even putting Big Ben 3 yet because I'm sure I'm missing some easy ones. I'd have to put a list together, but that's a good talking point. I appreciate the text. We'll put a list together on that one and talk about that more later, either way. But Jason Fitz going to join us coming up here around the corner. And we'll talk about CJ Stroud and the continued struggles from Buckeye quarterbacks in the NFL. Nonetheless, tax season is here, and I'm sure you're thinking about who is going to do my taxes. Try my friends at Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle. Call Michael Maxwell and Joe Tanis today, 937-543-5770. They're ready to serve you at 100 South Church Street in New Carlisle. Arrowhead Tax Service gives back to the community through athletics and nonprofits, and all new clients save 10% off. Online at arrowheadtaxservice.com. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We'll get back into this more coming up here around the corner. I don't know if you guys saw this. We can go into this now because I just got a text. Jason's going to be a little bit longer, so we'll get to Jason in a moment. Baker Mayfield against Kevin Stefanski. Baker Mayfield against Kevin Stefanski. How about that drama? How about that drama that's going on? I thought we were past this. Baker Mayfield, I don't know what to make of his approach here. Baker Mayfield tries to convince people that he has matured and that he has grown up, and then within a snap of a finger or within the push of a tweet, all of a sudden you're reminded, oh yeah, you're still that pain in the ass guy that Cleveland had to deal with years ago, statistically and emotionally. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but right after it was announced that Kevin Stefanski was going to be announced as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, which coincidentally enough means that Baker Mayfield and obviously Kevin Stefanski, they're going to square off against each other, twice a season now. I thought it was fascinating, from a storyline perspective, how all of that was going to shake out. So Baker Mayfield basically kind of releases a tweet that kind of attacks and goes at Kevin Stefanski, saying that, it's, frustrating that, of course, he didn't reach out to him after the Browns just tossed him out like a piece of trash. I thought that was fascinating and just a very childish tweet that I think Baker Mayfield put out, and it just didn't make any sense. It just didn't make any sense. Like, that was so long ago. Baker Mayfield has played for the Panthers since he left Cleveland. He's played for the Rams since he's left Cleveland. He's played for the Buccaneers since he's left Cleveland for multiple seasons. He's made multiple playoff appearances. He's won a playoff game since leaving Cleveland. And yet here we are all these years later. Kevin Stefanski gets a job with the Falcons, has nothing to do with Baker Mayfield, and somehow, some way, he's throwing out insults and reminding people that he's still that immature guy that got, he still has that mouth and that personality that got him in trouble years and years ago when everyone deemed that he was immature. Kevin Stefanski, by the way, career record with Baker Mayfield, 18-12, 1-1 in the postseason. Without Baker Mayfield, Kevin Stefanski is 27-44. Now, I hate those kind of stats because I think they're very manipulative as far as, you context matters. It's not as if it was the same team post Baker. I mean, there was a lot of things that have happened since Baker left. But, it's just one of those things where why is Baker Mayfield doing that? Why is he putting out a tweet like that attacking Kevin Stefanski? So the exact tweet was, I don't even know who Orlando Ledbetter is, by the way. But Orlando Ledbetter put out a tweet that said Kevin Stefanski had a dumpster fire at quarterback in Cleveland, Baker Mayfield, and Deshaun Watson, and he failed, which started a chain reaction to 11 other starters. Baker Mayfield took exception to that Orlando Ledbetter tweet and quote tweeted it and said, "Failed is quite the reach, pal." Which, by the way, if his tweet stopped right there, I'm pro Baker on that. I don't think Stefanski failed with Baker. I think Stefanski experienced with Baker Mayfield what the Texans are experiencing with C.J. Stroud, a ceiling, which is why they were like, hey, there's a chance to go get a franchise quarterback potentially in Deshaun Watson, and that's ultimately why they pulled the trigger to go make the move that they did. But Baker Mayfield's tweet continues on. Baker Mayfield says that he is still waiting on a text or a call from him being Kevin Stefanski, after he got shipped off like a piece of garbage. Baker ends the tweet with, "Can't wait to see you twice a year, coach." What are we doing here, Baker? I'm a pro Baker guy. If the Browns would have extended Baker Mayfield, I would have been completely fine with it. I also understood why the Browns moved on from Baker Mayfield. I understood that as well. And by the way, so did all of you. All of you would mock the Browns. I can't believe you're about to pay 35 to 40 mil, because at the time that was what the number was for QBs at the time. Patrick Mahomes had 45 at that time. That was a record number. That was a massive number at that time to get 45. And Baker was going to come in that 35 to 40 range, which just seemed ridiculous because Baker looked good. He didn't look like Patrick Mahomes, so there was no reason to put him in that dollar amount. And everyone was mocking the Browns, saying, I can't believe you're about to pay that much money for Baker Mayfield. So they decided not to, and then you made fun of the Browns for not paying Baker Mayfield. You're all a bunch of hypocrites is what you are, but that's besides the point. Baker Mayfield didn't leave Cleveland and go on to have instant success. He did not look good, of course, for the Panthers. He looked good on that, Monday Night Football where the opposing defense, you have no clue what kind of plays you're going to roll out. He didn't even know the playbook, and he leads the Rams to that huge come-from-behind win. It was either Sunday, Monday, or Thursday Night Football. I don't remember what it was, but he looked phenomenal. Then he was okay for the Rams the rest of the way, but then Matthew Stafford comes back. They didn't need him, and off he went. He went to Tampa, and in the first month of the season, very similar to Kyler Murray, by the way, Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield are always MVP caliber quarterbacks in the month of September. And then they're really good quarterbacks in the month of October. And then reality hits in the month of November and December. The reason I know this is because every season as a Browns fan, I am getting pummeled with, in September and October, I'm getting pummeled with, I can't believe the Browns let this guy go. I'm getting tagged in all these Baker Mayfield highlight tweets and all this stuff. And I'm rolling my eyes and I'm like, yeah, those throws would look nice in Cleveland. I would like to have that back in Cleveland. But then all of a sudden, maybe you guys get busy in December because it's almost Christmas time and priorities change and you're probably not watching as much NFL. No, that ain't it. There's just less highlights of Baker. Baker hits a wall. Baker becomes inconsistent. Baker starts turning it over. Baker starts losing games. And then y'all go silent because there's nothing to rub in the face of Browns fans anymore because, oh yeah, that's why Baker's not a Brown anymore. Now, he would still be better than what the Browns are dealing with at this point, no doubt about it, but let's not act like it's crazy that the Browns moved on from this Baker. In fact, as he's heading into his final contract here with the Buccaneers, it'll be interesting to see what the Bucs do at quarterback. And I want it to be clear, I don't dislike Baker Mayfield. If he ever made his way back to Cleveland, it wouldn't be the end of the world because it's better than anything that Cleveland's been able to muster up. Dylan Gabriel, whatever that was with Shedeur Sanders. The PR disaster and nightmare that was Deshaun Watson, by all means, I'm fine with it because the bar's so low in Cleveland. But he's a journeyman quarterback because ultimately he's going to go to a team that needs a quarterback. He's going to help you win games, and you're going to realize a couple years into it, you're not going to win the games you need to win the most. Simple as that. But Baker blaming Kevin Stefanski, I get it. Stefanski was the coach of the team that dumped you. There's hard feelings there. Baker needs that motivation. Whatever. But Baker's still that same immature guy that he was in Cleveland. But when you act like this while you're losing, it looks bad. When you act like this while you're winning, you look like a badass, and that's what Baker has looked like in Tampa as they've won 8 to 9 games every year in the worst division in football that everyone says Baker dominates. Who knows? But yes, Baker Mayfield against Kevin Stefanski twice a year. It'll be interesting to follow along the way. Nonetheless, let's go back to let's go to Chad. Chad Kinster on YouTube. Baker has shown multiple times that he holds grudges. I like Baker, but come on, dude, grow up. Leave the past in the past. I'm with you. If Baker wants to be mad at anybody, be mad at the Haslams. Be mad, of course, at Andrew Berry. It has come out multiple times that Kevin Stefanski wasn't a big advocate for going to get Deshaun Watson. To be fair, I do think that if it was up to Kevin Stefanski, knowing the roadblocks that exist with Baker Mayfield, he would much rather have continued coaching Baker than to go through what he's gone through the last 3 years. So I don't get why he's mad at Kevin Stefanski. I really don't. But he needs that, like, that motivation. So, it is what it is. Adam Seldner on the Justin Kinder Show Facebook page, he messages in. He says, Baker took the gifted opportunity to bask the Browns, and his personality wouldn't let the opportunity pass him by. And he takes advantage of those opportunities often, but the Browns also give him the content. They give him the opportunity to do it as well. So who knows? But hey, post-Browns drama, Baker versus Stefanski, gotta love it. Hey, it's going to make that division semi-interesting at least, because that division is so boring. There was nothing interesting about Tampa. Baker is interesting about Tampa. Outside of that, nothing. The Saints, my gosh, bore fest. The Panthers, you know how shocked I was that they made the playoffs? Every time I see the Panthers pop up when I'm doing my eliminator leagues, I was surprised to see that the Panthers had a 500 winning season. And they look solid in the playoffs, but they are not interesting. The quarterback's boring. Their brand is boring. Their coach is boring. They're boring. The Falcons, their jerseys look the coolest. They're the coolest logo. Their stadium's the best. Their roster is the most impressive of all the rosters in that division. But they're boring, and you go get a vanilla, boring coach in Stefanski. The NFC South is brutally boring. Brutally. Woofa. Back to the comments. Shaw says, more importantly, Justin, what crap happened to Wright State and Dayton last night? We talked about it to open the show, but not good. Not good. Wright State, they fell in the ultimate trap game. I mean, that's what the Cleveland State game, that was the ultimate trap game right there. Wright State loses last night 85-79. They lose by 2 possessions at home against Cleveland State, who had not won on the road all season, by the way. That's not what you want, especially heading into your big rivalry game with NKU on Saturday, and that's why that was the ultimate trap game. One of the worst teams in the conference. You have them on your home floor. You have a big rivalry game on Saturday. You've won 7 straight. You're riding high. I didn't think they were going to lose last night, but I saw that 15.5-point spread. I'm like, there's no way in hell Wright State's covering that. Wright State was never going to cover that 15.5 point spread. Not even close. And I knew, but I did not think that they were ultimately going to lose. They took a lead late, couldn't get done. And Dayton, I've been nice about Dayton. I've been very complimentary of Dayton as of late. But that was typical Anthony Grant last night. That was typical Anthony Grant basketball last night. He just, like I said, it's always easy to motivate your team. Man, they throttled Florida State. Well, yeah, it's easy to play at UD Arena with Florida State in town, 13,000 fans, NBA-style arena. It's easy to get motivated to play Florida State. It's easy to get motivated to go on the road to play a Marquette. It's easy to get motivated to play Georgetown, a team with a brand, right? It's easy. What's not easy as a coach is to get your team prepared to play a bad team. And this isn't a one-off. This is a consistent happening during the Anthony Grant era. There's a reason this team doesn't get at large bids. And it's always fascinating because they always kick ass in November, December. You always feel like, man, this team is going to make some noise in March. When you see what they do in Maui, when you see what they do, at these little invitationals every November, holiday time, they take it to these Power 4 schools. They look like they belong, and they technically should. But it's easy as a coach to get them, fired up to play the big teams, where you really earn your $3.5 million is getting them prepared to play the LaSalle's. Dayton loses to LaSalle last night. Dayton trailed LaSalle at one point, guys, 32 to 10. 32 to 10 at one point. What are we doing? And it's not a one-off. Why are you being harder on Dayton than on Wright State? Because during this recent 10-year run, the Scott Nagy era into Clint Sargent, this team wins big games all the time. This team consistently is at the top of their conference. They consistently win their conference. They have as many, if not more, NCAA appearances than Dayton in the last 10 years. Yeah, I'm not going to go at Clint. I'm not going to go at, the Nagy era. They did, for who they are in their conference, they do what they're supposed to. Dayton spends so much time bragging about why they need to be in the Big East that they forget that they're not even good enough to win the A-10. That was bad last night. And now they're out of the at-large conversation. At some point, Dayton needs to figure out, Neil Sullivan and company, they need to figure out, when is NCAA tournaments going to start being a priority? Because it's a priority to you Flyer fans. Anthony Grant, it's like he's a poor man's John Calipari when he was at Kentucky. When at Kentucky, it was more about how many guys we're putting in the pros. Oh, who cares about March? Look at all the guys we're putting in the pros. And that's what Dayton does. Built here. Look at Tumani Kamara. Love Tumani Kamara, by the way. Love Obi Toppin. Love Deron Holmes. Deron's a friend. He comes in this studio all the time. Everyone thinks everyone at UD probably hates me. The guys in their stupid suits probably do. Players and I, we get along just fine. The players don't hate me because deep down they know, hey, I love our guy, but that's the common denominator that's holding them back. Get a new coach. I'll be happier. I'll be more. That's the thing. I'll be the biggest pro non-flyer flyer in town once they get a new coach because this is just ridiculous. But as a fan, though, if you truly value putting guys in the pros more than success in March, then I guess I'm wrong and you're right. But deep down, you all know Dayton, you didn't put all that money to that arena. You don't spend millions of dollars on a coach. You don't put millions of dollars of resources into a program when you're a basketball school to consistently be left out of the NCAA tournament because you can't beat LaSalle. I'm sorry. You should. I have a high. If you're mad at me, Flyer fans, ask yourself why. Why are you mad at me? Is it because I have a higher standard for your program than you do? That I would be angry about last night if I'm you. At some point, when is that? What's that final straw? Losing to LaSalle, being down 32 to 10 in the first half. I mean, I know that wasn't the score at halftime, but my good, it was like, oh, we're down 32 to 10. I guess Anthony Grant said, hey guys, we should probably start playing now. Great idea, coach. Thank you. And then it's like they go out. I don't get it. It's one thing if you lose to LaSalle and you can't beat the Marquettes and you can't beat the Georgetowns and Florida States, then okay, this isn't a good basketball team. But if you could beat those teams, if you can rout those teams, you could beat LaSalle. I believe in you. I know you could do it. Not with Anthony Grant as the head coach. I need a new head coach. It's as simple as that. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports. He's going to join us next.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places. What you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. From budget to the best. From desks to filing cabinets. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to want to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 Mac Oil Avenue in Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Dayton's radio home for Buckeyes football. 1410 WING. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Looking to launch a career in the skilled trades but don't know where to begin? Part-time service in the Ohio Army National Guard can help. You can kickstart your career by enlisting in one of our many trades-based jobs: mechanic, driver, electrician, plumber, just to name a few. You'll be paid to learn these skills and get on-the-job training when you report to your unit 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summer. The Guard can also pay for your civilian trade certification in the career field of your choice. The Ohio National Guard Scholarship Program covers the cost of getting a CDL or becoming an EMT, as well as licensing programs in food services, healthcare, information technology, cosmetology, automotive services, and much more. Don't delay. A career in the skilled trades awaits you. Learn more about job and educational opportunities in the trade industries at nationalguard.com/OH. Sponsored by the Ohio Army National Guard, in coordination with the Ohio Association of Broadcasters and this station.
You can make the decision right now to get lasting relief from that awful joint pain. Don't go another year compromising because of that pain in your knees or shoulder. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative non-surgical pain relief. Your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue, and QC Kinetics can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. The future of pain treatment has arrived, and QC has tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People with back pain, hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. This is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again. Get your life back. And listen, it's non-surgical. If this is the year you decide to fight back against that pain, take the first step now. Call QC Kinetics. Get a free consultation on your calendar today. Call 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Dayton and Wright State both go down last night against, well, two really, really bad teams. So all the excitement we were starting to feel about college basketball, they just kind of reminded us why we've been so miserable the last couple of seasons when it comes to college basketball. But we'll touch base on that coming up here in just a moment. We'll dive back into the Browns. Baker Mayfield against Kevin Stefanski. Well, that's technically not Browns. That's Bucks versus Falcons, right? But somehow all the dirty laundry from the Browns days is still being thrown out there. We'll get to that more coming up around the corner. But I want to talk all things NFL, college football. Indiana wins the national championship. How weird is it to say that? We'll talk about all of that coming up right now with our friend Jason Fitz from Yahoo Sports. Jason, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm great, man. How are you? Thanks for having me. This is you're right. I don't think any of us have adjusted to Indiana being historic, and that's just the only way to say it. 16-0. They beat everybody they needed to beat along the way, and won in such a resilient fashion against Miami. I just think that was the sort of last crowning moment where you have to just step back and say, hey, no matter how we got here, this Indiana team was special this year. It was incredible to watch.
Indiana. So one thing, I mean, right off the bat, and people tried discrediting Indiana because it's not that great a turnaround because they spent money. They had to buy this. And I'm like, well, hold on. You're right. They did. They got an influx of money, and that's how they were able to catch up with everybody else. But if we're going to say it's impressive when Ohio State or Alabama or LSU wins a national championship, why are we trying to discredit one of the most unknown college football brands out there in Indiana? To me, Indiana, yes, they had to spend the money, but they beat other teams who spent the money as well. It doesn't guarantee you a national championship. How do you view Indiana's national championship? Are they the most unlikely champion in the history of sports, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest turnaround we've ever seen in sports to go from where they were to where they are now. But I would tell everybody, jealousy is a disease. Go see the doctor. Like, there is some moment here where for anybody that says, oh, well, they started spending money. A, they didn't spend more money than anybody else in college football. Many reports have them in the 20s or 30s in overall NIL spending. But B, above and beyond that, any player that Indiana went out and essentially bought, if that's how you believe they built this entire thing, was also available for Ohio State or Michigan. Any single player that was bought on that roster could have ended up on Ohio State or Michigan as well. So when people start saying, oh, they went out and they paid for it, okay, if you can get outbought by Indiana, then look in the mirror and ask yourself what the hell you're doing. And if they simply identified the talent better, that's a problem. If they found the talent and they developed it better, that's a problem. If they outbid Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, if they went in and outbid these huge programs, that's a problem too. Like, at the end of the day, we all need to tip our cap to what Indiana did, because they took the same pool of players. Like, for anyone that sat there and listened to Belichick on game day say, oh, well, it's a process and we didn't get everything we needed out of the transfer portal and, next year's going to be better. Cignetti in Indiana just trashed every coach that ever says we're getting it figured out, because he did it like that. In a drop of a hat, he turned around the worst team in the history of college football and made them champions. Instead of sitting there jealous of how he did it, everybody should be looking at their favorite program and saying, why are you not doing that? Because why could you not find 3 stars and make the most of them? Why is your team not as disciplined as their team? Why were you not capable of coaching a team that didn't lose a single fumble after the first game of the entire year? Like, look in the mirror and ask yourself why you're not good enough instead of faulting why Indiana got there.
Yeah, and Kirk Cignetti, I think he's great for college football. You need characters. Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, a lot of well-known coaches have retired. College basketball, when you look at Coach K and you look at Roy Williams, so many great big-name coaches, personalities have left the college ranks, whether it be basketball or football. There needs to be more. I'm a Ryan Day guy, but Ryan Day is dry as toast. Like, there's just not a lot of personalities out there. Dabo's goofy, but Dabo and Clemson haven't been relevant, nationally championship relevant in a while. College football needed something like this. Fresh blood, that's Indiana, and a fresh just character coach, and that's Kurt Cignetti. I think he's great for college football. I think, as weird as it sounds, Indiana is great for college football. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, I mean, look, heroes and villains, right? Like, I'm a big 80s wrestling fan, and if you watch any old footage on Hulk Hogan, you find out that Hulk Hogan didn't just become Hulk Hogan. It took beating the Iron Sheik and beating Andre the Giant, all of these heroes and villains moments. Well, it's pretty easy to see right now that Lane Kiffin is the biggest villain in all of college football. But you got to have good guys and bad guys. The best Batman movies were the best Batman movies in part because of Bane or the Joker or all of the other people, right? So you got to have heroes and villains. I think the Cignetti sort of, oh, shucks, I'm just going to go have a beer moment. Like, all of these things become endearing, and it gives hope to every other fan base, because I've been hearing college football people tell me for years the system's broken, it's all going to fall apart. NIL is only going to make the rich richer while everybody else doesn't have it. Now what have we seen? Indiana's not the only team. Vandy, like, you could go up and down the list with teams that unexpectedly came in and suddenly found themselves competing last year. So I think NIL has created a new open world where anybody can turn around and figure out a way to be successful. It's beautiful for fans of non-traditional teams, and for people that say the sport was getting boring. Indiana is the exact medicine that they needed. So I think Indiana is great for not only this year, but also for the future of the sport.
The national championship game a year from now will be a week later than what, it would be. We'd be talking about it this upcoming Monday. It's as wild as that sounds. How much different do you think next year's playoff will be? Will it be the same 3 straight years of 12 teams, 16 teams? How drastic of a change do you think we're going to see with this?
I was hoping they would go to 16. I would hoping they would fix the calendar in the process of doing it, but I think it's just impossible to get the Big Ten and the SEC to play nice in the same sandbox. So I fully expect it'll be the same playoff next year. But if there's ever been momentum for expanding, the fact that people didn't think Miami belonged and then they gave Indiana the best fight of the entire college football playoff by far, I think that absolutely smacks the expansion is bad argument in the face. And, frankly, I think you look at the calendar, this is all such a weird segment of college football. It's easy for most of us to fix. I think most of us with the brain that love the sport could fix the sport in about a day. The problem is you can't get all of the money and ego involved in the room to agree on anything. The very simple solution to me will always be putting Army Navy on Labor Day to kick off the college football season. Still gets a standalone day. It's a holiday. Everybody can respect our country and what it means for those two teams to play. And then the minute we finish the regular season, get rid of conference championship games, just start the playoff. Give me a playoff game every weekend. Give me a national championship on January 1st. You're out of the way of the NFL playoffs, and their Saturday games no longer matter. Like, this all makes a ton of sense to me. There's just too much ego involved, too much money involved, too much power involved to get people to agree on anything.
Yeah, because it started to water down a bit. NFL, and it wasn't even NFL playoff games that were drowning out the college football storylines. It was the head coaching vacancies. All the sports shows were about were the head coaching openings in the NFL, and that started to really kind of take people's attention away from, oh, yeah, damn, there's still a championship game to be played in college football, which is wild.
Yeah, you lose momentum. Think about the NCAA tournament. They announced the tournament on Selection Sunday, and then play-in games are Tuesday. Everybody spends a day. Just 100%. Everybody's spending a day looking up teams they've never heard of to get their brackets right. The fact that we find out what the bracket looks like, and then we wait a couple weeks for the first playoff game, and then wait another 10 days for the next one, and then we'll get this one in a few. Like, it just, all of it loses momentum. There has to be a plan to how you capture people and keep people through your playoffs. It's just a poorly executed one right now.
Browns still need to coach. To the NFL we go. Browns still need to coach. Steelers still need to coach. Ravens still looking. Are you surprised? I feel like this is a slow coaching cycle. I know there's a lot of teams still looking for a coach. Does it normally take this long? I feel like this is being drawn out. This is week number 3 for the Browns, and it might be longer because they still have to, be able to interview a few more minority coaches for the Rooney Rule. So they won't announce a coach this week. Do you feel like this has been a longer head coaching search, not for the Browns, but just for teams in general? I can't believe still how many teams have yet to hire a coach.
Absolutely. And there's 2 reasons for that. Number one, there was no Ben Johnson in this year's class. No clear cut, oh my God, this is the coordinator we need. Number 2, some of the hottest names that we're talking about are still involved in their jobs. And by the NFL rule, once we hit this portion of the calendar, you can't interview, Clint Kubiak. If you're interested in the Seahawks offensive coordinator, you can't even talk to him because the team is still playing. So we have to wait until I think it's the 26th to get an additional interview with anybody whose team is still active in the regular season, or in the postseason, I should say. So you end up with a bunch of the candidates that people do want to talk to, whether it's Davis Webb or whether it's, like I said, Kubiak, Shula for the Rams. All of these candidates people want to talk to, you can't even talk to them until at least the 26th. So it just makes hiring complicated. If you're already at this point right now, if you've already waited this long, you might as well wait the extra week you're going to have to wait and talk to everybody before you do it. But you're right. It means this whole process is drawn out. It feels more and more like we're likely to get teams that are sort of stuck at the altar with less than an ideal candidate, and it makes everybody uncomfortable. Also, the longer it takes you to hire your head coach, the more behind the ball you are on building the staff for that head coach. That offensive coordinator he loves may already take a job somewhere else. So I think it puts the entire staff construction under more scrutiny also. It's a worst case scenario for everybody still waiting for a coach.
Mike McDaniel turns down, he's pulled his name out of the running for the Browns head coach, and obviously sounds like what the Chargers OC is the route he's going. So you talked about even putting a staff together. I mean, there's head coaching candidates that are choosing to go the coordinator route to set themselves up for maybe a better position down the road. This is, you got to wonder, does Cleveland regret firing Stefanski? Do the Ravens regret firing Harbaugh at this point? I feel like no matter what some of these teams do, I know the Steelers didn't move on from Tomlin, but I feel like a lot of these teams have found themselves saying this is probably messier than we anticipated it being.
Yeah, I think, when you talk about how messy it got, and then you talk about how many huge jobs came open, one thing the Browns never could have anticipated was that the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Bills would all have head coaching openings. So even if you looked around and thought, no, we're a pretty good job. This is a good job. People are going to want us. Even if you could walk yourself into why it's a good job. I think if you take your fan hat off, or you take your, team hat off when you work for one, and you just step back, you have to say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Of course the Bills are a better job. Of course the Ravens are a better job. And to many, not to me, but to many, the Steelers are still a great job. So, I think it gets more complicated because they're just better openings for a lot of people out there than going to Cleveland or going to Vegas. So, you've got a group of teams that I think are just sitting around here hoping that their sales pitch is right for the right guy. But yes, I mean, certainly we can only ever wonder, the Browns, knowing what they know today as they sit today, would they rather still have Stefanski? It's why I didn't think he should have been let go. It's why I was surprised he was fired.
Unless they had a plan. And like most cases in Cleveland, then it seemed like there was a plan as far as that goes. Let me ask you, that Bills job opened up late. And I thought at first Harbaugh was taking his time to pick a job initially, or to even start taking interviews, because I felt like he wanted to watch that wild card weekend, because I felt like the Bills was a possible opening. If they lose that wild card weekend, they end up losing, in the divisional round. But let me ask you, if the Bills job opens up sooner, Harbaugh's with the Giants, Stefanski, of course, is in Atlanta. If the Bills job is open at the same time as those ones, are those two coaches where they ultimately picked, or do you think one of those is ultimately in Buffalo, if that's the case?
Oh, one of them is ultimately in Buffalo. Like, if you're Stefanski, I mean, you should be jumping over yourself to work with Josh Allen. Like, there's no doubt about it. And I think the Bills, look, Terry Pagula, the owner, in his press conference showed us that the Bills aren't without their warts. They're just, those warts are hidden by having one of the best young quarterbacks in the game. And I'm not even sure how young Josh is anymore, just one of the best quarterbacks in the game, right? Like, when you have a guy that every year is going to be an MVP candidate, you have a shot every year. That wasn't a good Bills team by any stretch of the imagination this year. It was just Josh Allen and Cook are able to take a bunch on their shoulder and make it work. So, yeah, I think if you're Stefanski looking around, as much as there are pieces in Atlanta that are nice, you don't have a quarterback. Atlanta does not have an answer at quarterback. Buffalo does. That makes Buffalo far more appealing. And Harbaugh, I would say the same thing. Even if you love Jackson Dart, he ain't Josh Allen yet. Like, there's no proof that he's Josh Allen. So 100%, if you had the shot at the Buffalo gig, you would have taken it.
Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports. Ohio State football obviously is great, a talent that they put in the league all the time. They're not known for their quarterbacks in the league. And it looked like CJ Stroud was going to be a guy that was going to kind of turn the corner and kind of change that narrative a bit. Although he is better than the majority, if not all, OSU quarterbacks that come out, he's still kind of running into that brick wall. I've always said that he's the scariest quarterback that you could ever have on your roster, because I feel like I either want you to be really, really bad or really, really good. The in between is the scariest quarterback you can have. I always compared it to Andy Dalton with the Bengals in the early 2010s. They had everything you needed to be a Super Bowl contender, but they just had a quarterback with a low ceiling, but a capable quarterback in Andy Dalton. I feel like that's CJ Stroud. They make the playoffs every year. They've won in the playoffs every year, but you're just not seeing him take that step forward or whatever. How do you view CJ Stroud and what the Texans should do? Because I don't think they're going to be, I would not judge them one bit if they don't ultimately extend an offer this offseason. I would need to see one more year before I'm paying him anything.
There is zero chance I'd be extending him an offer right now. None. And to me, I want to see him next year. I want to see, I'll pick up the 5th-year option. I'll see him, and then I'll franchise him if I have to. I want to see it for a year or two. I don't know how we went from one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen at the quarterback position to now a guy that just looks absolutely lost, but he's lost. Like, we were talking today on Yahoo Sports Daily. We had a debate with TJ Ward and Devin McCourty where we let two former players of the Broncos and Patriots debate the AFC Championship game. One thing they agreed on is that Jarrett Stidham is going to be a tougher out for the Patriots than CJ Stroud was. Think about that. Jarrett Stidham hasn't played a snap in 2 years, and I got two former players on my show saying, well, it's going to be tougher this week because they're going to have to face Stidham, and Stidham better than CJ Stroud. That shows you how much the wheels have fallen off of CJ Stroud. The Texans need to look in the mirror and figure out why. Organizationally, they need to figure out what has to happen from an offense to make him more comfortable. How did they break somebody that had such a good rookie season? I don't know, but I don't think the Texans have their future quarterback in the building anymore. CJ Stroud looks broken. And, sometimes quarterbacks just break. I don't know what caused it, but I certainly don't think that they have the right guy in the building for the future if they really want to be a Super Bowl contender anymore. And that's stunning to me to say, because after his rookie year, I think everybody would have traded for the opportunity to have CJ as their quarterback. It looked like a given for the next 15 years, and it's anything but that.
Yeah, I mean, it made Cleveland look worse than most situations do, because you gave up everything to go get a quarterback. You don't get your quarterback, and one of the picks that you sent them, they get CJ Stroud and everybody else, and they beat the Browns that year, and it looked like it was just going to be years and years of the Browns regretting it. They probably still do, but Stroud, man, that's a major step. I joked the other day, and people, of course, went off on me because I said Dylan Gabriel had more value to the Browns than CJ Stroud to the Texans, and my reason was, you know exactly what you have with Dylan Gabriel. You don't know what you have with CJ Stroud, and that totally puts you in a position where you don't know how to move forward with roster construction, money decisions, all of that. And I think he's a linchpin in as far as what they do going forward. We'll see what happens. But,
yeah, and look, you can't pay mediocre talent extraordinary money, and that's what they would have to do at the quarterback position. For anyone that says, no, they'll work it out, CJ will just take a mid-deal. When's the last time that actually happened? When's the last time a high-quality Super Bowl caliber quarterback took an okay deal when nobody was sure? I'm not talking about Brady deciding he was going to take less so his team could be built around him. I'm talking about the organization saying, we're not 100% sure on him. And the player saying, you know what? I get that you're not 100% sure. Let's find a mediocre deal that works for both sides. When's the last time that quarterback became a Super Bowl winner?
Yeah, exactly. But there's teams like the Dolphins paid a lot of money to a quarterback that they liked, but still didn't know. You have Trevor Lawrence, same boat, although he did have a bounce back year this year, which is nice. The Texans don't want to find themselves in that situation. We'll see what happens. Last thing on the way out, you're a fan of an AFC team, just like I am. The AFC 2 years ago looked absolutely loaded from top to bottom. I mean, it was like, man, this is a nightmare moving forward if you're trying to rebuild your team in the AFC. The Bengals, as bad as they've been, 3 straight years of missing the playoffs, I know they have a very bad defense, but the Chiefs are not explosive anymore. The Bills, there's a lot of moving parts right there. The Ravens, they seem dysfunctional. I don't know. I mean, Denver's the most balanced on both sides of the ball at this point, but I don't think that they're sending a lot of fear throughout the AFC. The Bengals have a legitimate shot here if they have a good offseason to be the favorites heading into next season, right? Like they're that close because of all the weapons they have on offense. The AFC is such a wild card right now. I feel like the Bengals have a legit opportunity to not rebuild their way back into the picture, to totally jump the line if they could do things right this offseason.
Which is why they didn't make any change. I think they believed in continuity, right? But to that point, to your point, the Chiefs roster is broken right now. And maybe Mahomes can save it. Maybe he can't. The Chargers can never stay healthy. So they're a joke. The Jags really came on the back half of the season. I don't know what to make of that long term. I still think we got to find that out. The Texans won a bunch of games, but they don't have a quarterback, right? The Bills have instability now because we have no idea what their future is going to look like. The Ravens are bringing in somebody new. What's that going to mean for them? The Steelers have a broken roster. The Patriots played the weakest schedule we can ever remember of a team that is about to get to the Super Bowl. Like, if you wanted to convince me that the entire AFC was going to look upside down next year, I'd buy that. I think this is an encouraging moment, though, for everybody that loves an AFC team. Why not us? Like, if a year ago, the answer was, man, none of us are getting through Baltimore and the Bills and the Chiefs. God only knows. And now we're looking around saying, no, the window could be right now. So this is an empowering time for the rest of the AFC to try and catch up a little bit. Let's see if Denver's building a juggernaut. Bo Nix, maybe. So I just think there's a but for almost everybody in the AFC right now.
I mean, we've seen rookie quarterbacks come in and turn things around. Is Mendoza that for you? Is Mendoza a possibility for the Raiders? I know there's a lot of holes there, but there are a lot of teams that view that. How are you viewing the Mendoza effect, if there is one?
I think Mendoza is a franchise quarterback, which I rarely say. So I'm excited for what Mendoza can mean for the Raiders. I think the Raiders are broken organizationally, though. So this is the most important hire that they'll make in my lifetime because they've got the number 1 pick and they've got a quarterback. They need somebody in the room that can develop him. If the Raiders bring the right people into the room, if they get every hire right and they can develop a quarterback, then yes, this can absolutely turn the Raiders around. Maybe not in a year, but in the next 2 or 3 years, they can absolutely get on one. But they got to find their Ben Johnson, not their Matt Eberflus. And that's just a reminder that a year ago, everybody was ready to give up on Caleb. What do you know? Coaching matters. So if the Raiders bring the right offensive minds into the building, yes, I think Fernando can make them much more respectable right away. I believe in what we saw, especially over the Big Ten championship through the playoffs. I think Fernando has the chance to be something special. Organizations ruin quarterbacks more than quarterbacks ruin organizations. I don't know that I trust the Raiders.
I think you and I know that more than anybody with the teams that we follow. So there you go. All right. Good stuff. Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports, gives us time every week, all the way through Super Bowl week, of course, and we appreciate him joining us here today. Jason, you the man. We'll talk again next week.
Appreciate you, brother. Have a great week.
All right, good stuff. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410, the number to jump in on the conversation. We'll be right back.
that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or online at mybathcreations.com and get a new bath today.
It's really been amazing, the amount of people that I've had contact me, and the talk is generally centered around QC Kinetics, and whether it's a knee, whether it's a back, a hip, shoulder.
He's always happy to talk about how QC Kinetics all-natural regenerative treatments finally gave him relief without surgery. That's former pro football player Bobby Carpenter.
My message to them is do not wait and push off a week, a month, whatever it is. So if you want to feel better this summer, now would be the time to get in. If you want to feel better in the fall, make sure that you're getting in here so you can go out and play golf and do the things that you love and enjoy.
Spoken by a man who experienced relief firsthand. QC Kinetics gave this former pro athlete back his mobility, his activity, and they'll do the same for you.
Has really helped me in just my general quality of life.
Don't wait. Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation today. QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. See Lance Roofing and Siding at their new location at 6903 Dayton Springfield Road in Enon. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Online at lanceroofing.com.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris is now hiring facilities industrial electricians. Do you have this specialized skill? This person must have a 2-year electrical degree or journeyman electrician card, knowledge in industrial electrical equipment, great communication skills, willing to work overtime, weekends, and shutdowns as needed. HVAC or plumbing experience is a plus. KTH offers excellent benefits, including medical, dental, and 401k. Apply today and be valued by a company that sincerely cares about you. Apply online at KTH.net, an equal opportunity employer.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Cunahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/deal for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/deal. See representative for warranty details.
1410 Wing AM, Dayton's ESPN Radio, powered by
Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs. For protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and progressive.com.
Meet Morgan Jones. Morgan is about to step into a world unknown to most, thanks to Progressive's Renters Insurance, a place of fresh linens and turn-down service. You see, Morgan temporarily vacated her apartment and has gone to a hotel because a pipe burst in her apartment. A pipe that made her sense of reality and apartment ceiling all come crashing down. Luckily, Morgan checked into Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. When
you think of the most exciting team in Dayton, it's okay if you don't think of the doctors and therapists at Premier Health. We don't have jerseys or trading cards. We don't get primetime coverage. We don't sell out arenas, have good drip, or autograph sessions. We're just happy to be your team's favorite team.
We're here at Menards Bag Sale, asking shoppers what they're putting in the bag to get 15% off.
Paint, batteries, tools, toilet paper, extension cords, grocery items,
hardware for my cabinets,
snack items, crackers, and some canned goods stuff.
Shop vac supplies, toothpaste, cereal, coffee, dog treats. I've got a lot of stuff to grab.
The list goes on, but the sale ends January 24th. Hurry in for Menards 15% off bag sale. See store for complete details.
Save big money at Menards.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. Here's a tale of Linda trying to lose weight, but the med prices she found were all over the place.
Hidden fees and markups made her jaw drop low. Then she found Good RX. Now she's in the know.
GLP-1 subscriptions FDA approved.
With clear upfront pricing.
And same-day pickup.
That's Good RX, the no-nonsense way. Save time and money on prescriptions.
Get to GoodRx.com/weight loss. GoodRx is not insurance.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text AREA to 42424 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text AREA to 42424. That's AREA to 42424.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. Appreciate Jason Fitz hopping on and giving us some time here. It's the Justin Kinner Show. Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. 937-518-1410, the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Last night, Wright State, 7-game win streak is snapped. They lose 85-79 at home against Cleveland State. Cleveland State had not won a road game all season until last night. Wright State falls in the ultimate trap game The Raiders had won 7 straight. They're first place atop their conference, one of the hottest mid-major teams in the country. And they lose to one of the worst mid-major teams in the country because after Cleveland State is their big rivalry game against Northern Kentucky on Saturday. For those who have tickets to that game was scheduled for 7 p.m. on Saturday. They have moved the tip-off to 1 p.m. So if you're going to the Wright State NKU game, it is now a 1 p.m. tip-off this Saturday. They're trying to, they adjusted the time due to the inclement weather that is coming our way. So keep that in mind. If you have tickets for Saturday night or want tickets for Saturday now, Wright State NKU will play on Saturday. That is Wright State's big rival. And I do believe that played a role. I mean, they need a win last night. That was a dumb loss. I think that's a definite momentum killer, but they're still sitting in first place alone at the top of the conference. And have a chance to get it back right on Saturday against NKU. So we'll see what happens there. But Dayton, they lose last night 67-64. They're now 14-5 on the season, 5-1 in A10 play. They had won 5 straight A10 games. They were on a roll. And that, with 2 against St. Louis, George Mason, who's just 6-0 in A10 play, they're on the brink of being, Dayton, the A10's on the verge of having 2 teams in the top 25, Dayton not being one of those. And I say that not to rub it in, but like when you think of the A10 and you think of a team that should be ranked or that you would expect to see, Dayton's one of those programs. The way that they schedule, the way that they recruit, the resources, the money, the way, the expectations that they tell you, they being Neil Sullivan, the athletic director, tells you that they have for their own program. George Mason, they keep this going, they're going to be ranked. They're going to be ranked before you know it. And St. Louis, they were able to crack the top 25 earlier this week, which is big because Dayton has 2 games against top 25 St. Louis. The game 1 at St. Louis coming up on the 30th. And we thought that, Dayton had a lot of winnable games coming up. They had a lot of winnable games between now and when they played at St. Louis. They had LaSalle last night, which they lost. They were down 32-10 at one point in that first half. They were down like 42-30 or 40-29 or something. It was like an 11-point deficit at halftime or whatever. So they came back, but that's what they do. So we have every week, Paul Frischner is a good friend of mine. He runs the Rebound Rundown, and he covers UC, Xavier, Dayton, Wright State, Northern Kentucky, the Red Hawks, top 25 Red Hawks. How about that? And he comes on every week, and the Rebound Rundown segment, we go down and highlight and recap every team in college basketball. And the one thing he said about Dayton, especially since A10 play started, was that they've been flirting with disaster. They've been flirting with fire, right? Like they've been cutting it a little close. He said they've played with fire. They've played with fire in A10 play. There's no doubt about it, but they've survived. They've done what they needed to do. They've survived. Well, they survived up until last night. 5-0 in A10 play, on the verge of playing their way back into the bubble conversation, the at-large conversation, and they popped that bubble on January 21st last night. That's a bad loss. And there's just so many bad losses in the Anthony Grant era. And the reason that matters is if Dayton would just view themselves as what they actually are, and that's just a really good mid-major program, I don't think as many people would jump on these types of losses. I respect the fact that Dayton wants to be a consistent at-large contender. I just, based on the conference and the landscape of college basketball, I don't think that's possible for Dayton to be a regular at-large contender. They schedule to do it. They schedule like in the non-con. I think Neil Sullivan does a phenomenal job with the schedule. And I've said that for years. I don't respect his approach to the Wright State game. I think he's lame for that. I've heard that there's some media in town that is clashing with him because of his approach and excuse making for the Wright State game. I've heard that he has shunned a couple media members locally because they don't share his I think very weak mindset of the Gem City Jam. But that's not technically what this is about. Because that was, yes, I threw a little shade there because I still roll my eyes at that every time. But I do respect the fact that him as the athletic director schedules and builds schedules that puts the Flyers in position to be in the at-large conversation. And to his credit, he builds phenomenal schedules. And to Anthony Grant's credit, he gets quality wins with those schedules. Dayton is always in the at-large conversation heading into January. They're always in the at-large conversation heading into January. You know where they're always at more times than not heading into March? They're checking to see where they're at in the bracketology. It's just the NIT bracketology, because for whatever reason, Anthony Grant can get this team fired up to play the North Carolinas and the UConns and the Cincinnatis and the Xaviers and the Marquettes and the Florida States. And I don't even think you need a coach to fire you up to do that. I think as fans, we get more fired up. How many of you were actually excited for the LaSalle game last night? I wasn't. You weren't. And guess what? Those players probably weren't excited to play LaSalle either. How many of you were excited for when they played Florida State? I was. You were. The players were. And guess what? That had nothing to do with Anthony Grant. That's just human nature. We are naturally going to be more fired up for those more respectable opponents. But guess what? When you are a head coach that gets paid millions to underachieve every year, it is your job to get them to win. Because, by the way, they're not going to miss the NCAA tournament this year because, Florida State's not as good as what we thought they were going to be, because Marquette regressed and is one of the worst teams in the Big East, because Georgetown's one of the Paul Frischner said it on the show last week that coming into the season, if you would have told any Flyer fan that you were going to have a win over Georgetown, a win over Florida State, and a win over Marquette, and you'd be 5-0 in A10 play, you would say, sign me up, because there is no way in hell that we're not one of the top teams in the country. Well, they found themselves in that position because Florida State was not as impressive as a win as what we thought it would be. Same thing with Georgetown, same thing with Marquette. But guess what? That's not why this team's going to miss the NCAA tournament this year. This team's going to miss the NCAA tournament this year because your coach that makes millions of dollars can't find a way to get this team prepared to play LaSalle. Because he couldn't get this team fired up to play LaSalle. Now, McKinnon, what happens if they win the A10 tournament in March? Well, that would be a trick. That would be something. You better hope they don't run into LaSalle in that tournament. My goodness. This has been a problem throughout the Anthony Grant era. What makes him great? Like, you think of the big wins. You think of the fact that they're not intimidated or afraid to play a UConn or a Kansas. They've beat Kansas, they competed with Kansas when Obi was here. They beat Kansas with Jalen Crutcher, shots. Like they've done it all. Like we've seen how big and how clutch Dayton can be. And it wasn't Crutcher that hit that clutch shot against Kansas, but the bottom line is, like, we've seen how good this team could be regardless of the year against those top teams. Every year Dayton competes with the Power 4 brands. Every year. I'm not impressed with that, because I don't think there's anything that AG has to do to get this team motivated. These guys are hungry to play the Power 4 teams. They want to prove to Georgetown, they want to prove to Marquette that we can be in the Big East. That's great. I love that AG can get this team to prove that they want to play in the Big East. How about he gets them to prove that they could play in the A10? You lose to LaSalle, down 32-10 at not at halftime, but in the first half. And then, of course, you flip that switch, and they've done that a lot. They played a horrible first half. That's a trend with Dayton. St. Loyola at home, they were like a 16.5-point favorite, and they covered. They won 78-51. But my goodness, how ugly was that in the first half? Why does this team have to get punched in the mouth before they wake up and say, "Oh, damn, we got to play"? Duquesne, they won by 6. They should have blown them out of the water. That was a hideous game. George Washington's a good opponent. They were shorthanded. I'll give them that one. Loyola, they were shorthanded. But that was another one where they just played hideous, ugly basketball. But to their credit, they grinded it out. Fordham, 63-56, another hideous game. They were flirting with fire the entire time. How do you beat Florida State 97-69, but struggle to beat Fordham? Struggle to beat a horrible Loyola team. Struggle to beat Duquesne. Lose to LaSalle. It doesn't make sense. That is on Anthony Grant. That is on coaching. And I'm not a Flyer hater. I'm not. But the bottom line is, this is on Anthony Grant. And it's on Neil Sullivan. And it's up to that administration. It's up to Anthony Grant. It's up to these guys to want to get it done, because Flyer fans, 13,000 fans in the arena every night. You travel with this team everywhere that they go. You spend all that money just to be let down like that. How is it that when the Anthony Grant era is done, we're going to talk about the Obi Toppins and the Deron Holmes and the Kamaras? All right, we're going to talk about all of that. And there's not going to be really anything to show for it except for that one magical 2020 season that is clearly an outlier. That is an outlier of a season. Last night was horrendous. To lose to LaSalle when you had a chance. I mean, why do you play all the tough teams in November and December? And we're more confident in you in November, December, but the weak teams in the A-10, you can't be like it just doesn't complement each other right. It's not a good look for Dayton. It's just not. Kenner, why are you harder on Dayton than on Wright State? Oh, don't get me wrong. I love Clint. I love that coaching staff. I love that team, but that was a bad loss last night. It was a trap game, and I'm not saying it's an excuse. You don't lose to Cleveland State at home. When you've won 7 straight, you're a first-place team. You're the favorites to win the league. Man, oh, man. I tell you what, though. Miami of Ohio, the Redhawks, they're in the top 25. And I had this sent to me a little bit ago. How about that? Marshall. Marshall's going to play Miami of Ohio coming up here in the near future. But Marshall just hit 26 threes against Louisiana Monroe earlier. That's the most threes in a game against a Division I opponent in the last 2 decades. The men's record for threes in a game versus a Division I opponent is 28, held by Troy. Marshall, Wright State played Marshall. Marshall could shoot the 3. Marshall's very good. They could shoot the 3, and we know that's what Miami does. I mean, that could just be a 3 shootout when they play here coming up around the corner. My goodness. But Miami of Ohio might run the table. But if Miami of Ohio does not win their conference tournament, there's a good chance. I think they're going to stub they could run the table. I think they have a loss or 2 remaining in this schedule of theirs. And I don't think that they actually, I just think that the target on their back now, I don't see them winning the MAC tournament. The MAC is still very good. They're the best team in the MAC, but the gap between them and the rest of the teams in the MAC isn't very wide. I mean, they needed overtime to beat Buffalo. They needed overtime to beat Kent State. They're needing overtime to beat these teams. And I'm telling you, you take any other top 25 team, if you want me to take they're not needing overtime to beat Buffalo. They're not needing overtime to beat Kent State. But these are similar teams to Miami. That's who realistically more of who they are. I don't see them that. Guys, there's a very good chance if Wright State wins their conference tournament, and they're the best team in that conference. I know they just lost to Cleveland State. But there's a good chance Wright State could be playing in the first 4 at UD Arena while Dayton is playing at Miami in the first round of the NIT. Because it's all about the NIT for Dayton at this point. And then for Wright State, it's NCAA tournament or nothing. NCAA tournament or nothing. Because there is no NIT option now for them. All right, it's the Justin Kinder Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. I get it. I'm very negative when it comes to Dayton. And it's not, I don't believe I'm negative. I believe I'm a realist when it comes to Anthony Grant. Y'all view it as negative. I understand that. But I don't know how you guys can continue to see this team lose big game after big game after big game. And now, hold on, let me reset that. Lose bad game after bad game after bad game. Because they compete in the big games. But that's easy. It's easy to get your team motivated to play the big schools. But when you're making them millions of dollars to coach the Flyers who have at-large expectations, and yet you can't get them motivated to play LaSalle and the bad teams year in and year out, that's unacceptable. It just isn't. It is to me, at least. It should be to you. 937-518-1410. We'll close it out when we come back.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Traffic and body pain can slow you down, but don't let the pain stop you. With just one pill, Aleve provides up to 12 hours of pain relief, so you can keep moving. Use as directed.
This is Pause Before You Play, and it's time for more game day picks from local sports fans. You're on the air. Who you got?
Actually, I'm not betting, just chilling and watching the game.
I know that move, a pause. Sounds like you've got a winning strategy.
Exactly. After I set limits and recognized the risk, I knew it was time to stop.
Now that is responsible betting, folks. Sports are fast. Betting shouldn't be. Make a plan at pausebeforeyouplay.org. That's pausebeforeyouplay.org.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-568-3344. 800-568-3344. 800-568-3344.
Billy, your gas light's on. We need to stop and fill up.
No way, Jen. Gas around here is too expensive. We can make it a little further.
Billy, listen to your big sister. You don't need to drive all over searching for the lowest gas prices. Do what I do and use Upside.
Upside?
Do you live under a rock, Billy? Upside is the hottest cashback app out there. It's free to download, and you get real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. I use it all the time, and I've already made around $200.
You can make that kind of cash back just for buying the gas you have to buy anyway?
Yes, I'm looking at the Upside app now, and you can get up to a $5 cashback bonus on your first tank.
Okay, I'm stopping to download Upside and fill up my tank.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SUPPLY to get up to a $5 cashback bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime. Write your bank to PayPal or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SUPPLY to get up to a $5 cashback bonus on your first tank. That's code SUPPLY for up to a $5 cashback bonus.
Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. Visit trustandwill.com for details.
Trust and Will.
My dad and I were always close, but some things we just didn't talk about, like his will. After he was gone, we found out he didn't have one, and it created a lot of stress during a time of grief.
Creating a will can be hard to think about, but avoiding it can lead to greater difficulty for the people you love. That's why Trust and Will makes estate planning simple. Create a will online in as little as 30 minutes.